All right, everyone. It's Friday, so it's time for our agile, not so agile episode of the Daily Stand Up Podcast. And all I'm going to say is whoever is cutting onions needs to stop. This story might be one of the most beautiful stories I've heard in a long time. It comes to us from Monticello, Utah. And it starts out with a little humor. It says, "We interrupt the steady stream of news about divisiveness, about tumult, about conflict, infighting, with a story from the heartland that suggests the human default may yet be getting along and pulling together." A few weeks ago, in the southeast corner of Utah, the San Juan County Fair took place, and has been the case for longer than anyone can remember at the fairgrounds in Monticello. On the fair's last day, August 10th, 2024, it was time for the Junior Livestock Show and Auction, where kids in the 4-H club show off their steers, goats, lambs, and hogs that they've spent the year fattening up. The auction was moving along smoothly, if uneventfully, when it was time for Elise Lewis to step into the arena and show her lamb. Elise is 17, a senior at Monticello High School. She plays on a volleyball and golf team and is president of her school's National Honor Society chapter and has been auctioning off lambs at the county fair ever since she was 5 years old, always putting the money she raises away towards her college fund. But this year, Elise had a different plan. As she and her lamb entered the arena, she handed the announcer a statement that she asked him to read. It began with a thank you to the Junior Livestock Program for all the lessons it taught her throughout her life. Then her statement said this: "I usually save the money I earn from the sale of my land for college. This year I'd like to do something different. I would like to donate 100% of the money I raise to Ryan, Imlay, and Bodell Nielsen. Ryan was involved in a swimming accident this summer, and I'm hoping the money I donate will help him on his long road to recovery. Many days of work, and even their original wedding day, have been missed, and I'm hoping to help lighten their burden with a small donation." Imlay's accident had occurred 3 weeks earlier when he was on a family outing and he dove into a lake and hit his head on the sand and shattered one vertebrae and cracked another. The news spread quickly throughout San Juan County. Everyone knew Imlay and Nielsen, who had to postpone their wedding date. They were facing a rough stretch of road ahead. He was in the hospital fighting to try to walk again when the auction took place. As the announcer finished reading Elise's statement, Kurt Lewis, her dad, nudged his wife, Tamara Lewis, and said, "Watch what happens next," he whispered. "I have a feeling we're about to witness the goodness of America." Then the auctioneer started his patter. The lambs before this one had been pricing out at an average of $6 a pound. Elise's lamb raced past that before the auctioneer could clear his throat. Hands shot up at a frenetic pace until the auctioneer finally declared sold to Travis Shumway for $54 a pound. She realized she just raised $8,000 to help Imlay and Nielsen. As Elise was smiling with tears in her eyes and walked the lamb out of the arena, she wore a satisfied smile on her face. But she didn't make it out of the gate before Travis Shumway hollered out to the auctioneer that he would certainly pay what he bid. But he wanted to turn the lamb back in so it could be auctioned again. This time, the bidding was anything if not more spirited, until it closed with Chad Shumway's bid of $44 a pound. A beaming, as if slightly bewildered Elise began crying even harder as she headed out of the arena, until Chad shouted, "Sell it again." Again, hands shot up throughout the arena, until Justin and Stephanie Ivins prevailed with a winning bid of $34 a pound. There's just a goodness in these small communities. Until proven otherwise, Elise's 144-pound lamb goes down in history as the most expensive lamb in the world ever sold for $19,008. Describing the scene for the San Juan Record in her story titled Land for Sale. Going once, twice, three times. Reporter Sally Jack wrote, by now folks were laughing and crying at the same time, but mostly crying while shaking their heads in wonder at the goodness and generosity of people in the community. Kirk Lewis said they probably could have auctioned it 3-4 more times. As for a bewildered, crying Elise, I was a little bit nervous going in, she confessed, but I knew I had such a great community behind me. But it went way beyond what I thought. I didn't expect that to be the outcome at all. Even better, by the time Imlay and Nielsen received the generous donation a few weeks later, Imlay was indeed out of the hospital and able to walk again, if haltingly, and a couple were able to get married in a quiet at-home ceremony. Summing up the story to Lamb, the accident, the kind girl, the auction, and the willing bidders, Kurt Lewis said, what it's about is a young couple that needed our help and the goodness of a small town. Not that big towns wouldn't do it, but there's just a goodness in a small community that look out for their own people. I'm a firm believer there are a lot of people out there who want to do good. They just need the right cause. What I can tell you is that this is an incredible turn of events. There's so many crazy things happening in the world that it's often hard to find a true news story like this where you can sense and feel this community of people doing everything they could to make a difference for one another. I for certain know what it's like firsthand to have given back to those who suffered in Hurricane Katrina, those who suffered from Hurricane Helene, those who suffered from Hurricane Milton. I know what it's like firsthand to give back to the military every single year. I know what it's like to give back to women in need and providing free classes for people who couldn't afford to do so, and finding scholarships and charities and businesses willing to donate. I know firsthand what it's like to be a pillar of light in a sea of darkness. I know what it's like firsthand to extend yourself to others who are less fortunate. And I know what it's like to be in a position where you can help and make a difference. I hope that each and every voice, or each and every ear rather, that's listening to my voice, can be thoughtful and be kind and be generous and find a way to give back to those in need. Find a way to serve someone in your community. Find a way to uplift someone. This teenager went out of her way to see to it that the people in need had what they needed so that they could live a life in a more normal way. I petition each of you to try to find an act of kindness that you can do for someone else. I'm going to finish off by quoting my 16-year-old daughter, Kate. Kate said to me not very long ago, can you imagine how much different the world would be if each and every person for the next 30 days found one person that they don't know and did a random act of kindness for that person? I've echoed this a few times on this channel, but man, the world would be different if we did that. If each person just did one act of kindness for somebody else and it spread like wildfire, we would have so many more stories like this one. But I take my hat off to Elise for bringing that lamb in and knowing that she was doing the right thing and writing that little statement, making her mom and dad proud, making her community proud. But more importantly, for every single person in that arena who said, do it again, it warms my heart to know that there's so much goodness in people. And in this case, that people were willing to give whatever it took to give Elise a place in history, but to also show that the world, that humanity's not dead, that there's still good people in the world, and that we can make a difference through showing light and love. That's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have a topic you want us to talk about, reach out next week. Learn more at AgileDad.com. until Monday, stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. And whoever's cutting the onions, please stop. Do take care.